Welcome to part 2 of our Synergistic card review for the cards coming soon with Fractured in Alterac Valley. There's a link to part 1 covering the Alliance classes, as well as timestamps in the description below in case you'd like to jump to a class you're interested in. We won't be doing a new video on opening your pre-order packs early since the process has remained the same since the Barons. You should be able to open them right now with your own fireside gathering. But there is a link to the original video in the description as well. Now, let's get into the review. This should be interesting. So, starting off, Druids have a number of choose one synergy cards, starting with the 2-mana spell Capture Goldtooth Mine. Choose one, draw your lowest cost card, or draw your highest cost card. Now, a lot of people have mentioned that this is going to be great with Vandar, but do note that this says your lowest cost card, not your lowest cost minion. And so you could potentially build a very greedy deck and tutor out Vandar, or tutor out your other Capture Goldtooth Mine or Coldtooth Mine with this, and potentially get Vandar much more reliably. Does Druid need that? Probably not, but it is interesting. And then you can actually use your second copy to draw your highest cost minion instead. So the flexibility of this card is really cool. And of course, if you use this together with Druid Carpenter, then you can draw 4 cards and you'll actually be able to get both your lowest cost and highest cost. So Capture Coldtooth Mine is actually looking very, very good. Very targeted, very beneficial, lots of card draw available. So I love that. Now, Pride Seeker and Pathmaker are also choose one card synergies, but you're probably not going to want to run them in the same deck with Druid Carpenter, because when you split your choose one cards, I don't believe these guys will have, or these ladies will have, their impact anymore. So first off, we've got Pride Seeker, 3 mana 2/4 with Battlecry. Your next choose one card costs 2 less. So for example, if you play this on 3, and then for 4 mana, you'll be able to play Nourish and gain 2 mana crystals right away. So that carves out amazingly well. And then you've also, you've got your other choose one cards like the free Capture Coldtooth Mine, but that curve is actually going to be amazing. And if you're like, okay, well, I just used that to ramp, really nice thing, Pathmaker is a great follow-up to that, because it allows you, or it's a 3 mana 3/4 with a Battlecry to cast the other choice from the last choose one spell you've cast, which means that you're going to be able to draw 3 cards for just 3 mana and get a 3/4 body if you've paired this with Nourish. Now, one thing I will note is that Pathmaker is spell exclusive, just like Druid Carpenter is spell exclusive. However, Pride Seeker is not. Pride Seeker says your next choose one card, not spell, which means you could use Pride Seeker together with Shando Wildclaw and get the value there. Unfortunately, Pathmaker does limit back to spells again, so you're probably going to fit this whole package together into like Nourish and Capture Coldtooth Mine value, because right now the choose one options in standard at least are not terribly amazing, but Nourish and Coldtooth Mine are both really exciting to get value from. So we've got those, and then now one reason you might want the extra ramp and extra card draw to really benefit is if you go to 20 mana crystals with Wildheart Guff. So we're going to look at him a little bit more closely. Wildheart Guff, 5 mana hero card with the normal 5 armor. Battlecry, set your maximum mana to 20 and gain a mana crystal and draw a card. So 5 mana, draw a card, gain a mana crystal. Okay, so smaller Nourish, But you also get this new hero power, and you have a maximum of 20 mana that you can ramp to. Now, you don't go to 20 mana right away. You still have to build up to it, hence the reason you're going to want your Nourishes, your Overgrowths, maybe even Wild Growth, probably not, in order to help you get there. And there are some really cool payoff cards, especially we'll talk about when we get to the neutral section. Some crazy things you can do. But you do get this really cool new hero power, Nurture, that allows you to choose between drawing a card or gaining a mana crystal. And so you're going to be able to continue ramping, get to your big stuff, and maybe be able to play 2 Survival of the Fittest in a single turn, or just Survival of the Fittest, plop something massive down all in the same turn. And if you're running low on cards, then just Valley Root instead, and you're going to be able to just refill your hand. So Druid is not going to have an issue with card draw at all, if you can pull Guff at least from your deck. Now, do you throw Guff and Cold Tooth Mine in the same deck in a super aggressive low curve deck so that you guarantee you get Guff quickly and early? I'm not sure if it quite fits the game plan of that, but you might choose Guff as your lowest cost card, because Guff is a little bit more oriented towards high value, high, pressure, and just insane things you could do. So you could potentially build your deck with Guff as your lowest cost card, aside from Cold Tooth Mine, and draw Guff more reliably with Capture Cold Tooth Mine, and then continue ramping and going to your crazy stuff. Can you survive until turn 5 if your deck is built that way with just the basic hero power? I don't think so. I don't think it'll work. But we may well try it and see if it can work. But I am curious to explore that possibility. I just don't think it'll be a good one. So more likely we're going to use Jared Carpenter with Capture Cold Tooth Mine and Nourish. We might actually throw them all together with Pride Seeker, Pathmaker, and Jared Carpenter, even though there is a little bit of counter synergy between Jared Carpenter and the Pathmaker and Pride Seeker. But, so you've got this crazy mana ramp, this amazing card draw, all available in Druid. Druid is going to be able to do insane things. A single turn where you can just dump so much value, so much greed onto the board. You might actually run out of value and greed if you don't have quite enough built into the deck. And yet, if you build it too greedy, then you're going to be stuck with heavy stuff in hand. Not being able to play on your early turns. So kind of finding that balance will be an interesting deck building challenge. But let's look at the other legendary for Druids. So Wing Commander Mulverick is a 4-mana 2/5 with Rush, and while he's on the board, your minions have Honorable Kill, summon a 2/2 Wyvern with Rush. Honorable Kill, in case you aren't familiar with the keyword from this set, is that you have to deal exact lethal damage on your turn and get a bonus. In this case, you'll summon a 2/2 Wyvern with Rush. And so, if the opponent's board is full of 2/2s, this is absolutely insane, because him rushing in himself will summon another 2/2. Lok Tarugar. Welcome, Vis. Hope you're doing well today. Okay, so if they have lots of 2/2s on the board, amazing. But if you've got a minion or two sticking to the board already, you might well be able to set up an honorable trade. And if you've got more mana, you could potentially pair a hero power or one of the many buffs available to buff up a Wyvern or another minion on board to set up an honorable trade to pair alongside Mulverick. And speaking of cards that could potentially do that, one card that works well with that perhaps is Heart of the Wild, a 3-mana spell to give a minion +2/+2 and then give your beasts +1/+1. By the way, all of those 2/2 Wyverns are beasts. So they will get +1/+1 if they're sticking to the board still after you've summoned them. So Heart of the Wild will buff the original minion, and then if that original minion is also a beast, it will gain +1/+1 more. So it will be +3/+3 to it. Now, besides those wyverns, there are quite a few new beasts we'll be getting from this expansion, including a really powerful wide board token buff minion called Claw Fury Adept. It's a 2-mana 2/3 beast. Battlecry, give all your other friendly characters +1 attack this turn. Friendly characters means you get to attack with +1 attack with your face as well. So always, this is going to be at least 1 attack for your hero, even if you don't have any other minions. So if you just played this on an empty board on turn 2, you're still getting to basically hero power. You don't get the armor, but you get to a free half of your hero power with Claw Fury Adept. But if you do have a couple minions sticking to the board, then you're going to be able to... Fluffy and Fury are similar, yes. Yeah, fair enough. Claw Flurry, Claw Fluffy, Claw Fury. Oh, okay. So the hope is that you've got either a couple rush minions sticking to the board, or you did manage to stick a board of, I don't know, Glowfly Swarms or some Frostwolf Cubs, we're going to talk about here in a moment, to the board so that you can leverage this plus attack that you have. And feels great on 2 because you do get that 1 attack with your hero, but feels great later in the game to buff your wide board of minions that you've managed to stick out there. Now, if you're looking for ways to create that wide board, the objective card for Druids is this Frostwolf Kennels. 3-mana spell. At the end of your turn, summon a 2/2 wolf with stealth. Last 3 turns. And we've got the cutest token, in my opinion, of the set with Frostwolf Cub. So 2-mana 2/2 beast with stealth, sticks around on board. You can start buffing it up the following turn. And most likely your opponent's not going to have a way to clear a stealth minion. So you're going to be able to attack with this and maybe give it extra attack thanks to Claw Fury Adept or one of your other buff cards. So a guaranteed 6/6 in stealthed beasts across 3 bodies. It does happen gradually, but this is nice. I don't think you're going to mind taking a little bit of a downturn, in order to start getting this value. And actually, if you play this on 3, then your turn 4 play, that's going to give you even more pressure and board presence, that's going to feel pretty good, is dropping Dire Frostwolf, a 4-mana 4/4 beast with stealth. So again, your opponent can't deal with it right away, probably, but even if they do, then you're going to get a 2/2 wolf with stealth, which is another one of the Frostwolf Cubs, on the back end. So you're getting 4-mana 6/6 in stats, but it's across a sticky body and tough to deal with. So you've got all this, and all of these are beasts. All of this synergy works together to make your Frost Saber Matriarchs a lot cheaper to play. So Frost Saber Matriarch is a 7-mana 4/5 with Taunt. Then it costs 1 less for each beast you've summoned this game. So they don't have to die off or anything like that. But Frostwolf Kennels, play this out on 3. By the time you get to turn, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you're not going to be cheating out Frost Saber Matriarch quickly just thanks to Frostwolf Kennels. But say you play Frostwolf Kennels on 3, at the end of turn 3 and the end of turn 4, you're getting 2 more. And so this is already down to 5 mana. And you could play Frost Saber Matriarch on turn 5 for 5 mana. But if you manage to drop a Dire Frostwolf and run that into something that they've got on board, you can play Frost Saber Matriarch for just 3 mana at that point, and you have 2 mana left over to do something. Perhaps play Claw Fury Adept. But you have quite a few synergies, build-arounds that you can do, and Frostsaber Matriarch can probably get to 0 mana by turn 6 quite frequently if you've got enough tokens that you're able to summon onto the board. And so I think Beast synergy token Druid, especially with all this stealth package going on and then stabilizing behind a Frostsaber Matriarch, is going to be powerful. So looking forward to experimenting with that as well, but I think I'm looking forward to Wildheart Guff, ramp shenanigans, insane mana stuff a little bit more. Now we already do have Celestial Alignment and Vandar already messing with mana, but the ability to do 20 mana worth of stuff in a single turn, it's just insane. Looking forward to it. Gibberling would work well with Frostsaber. Let's talk about that here in a moment. But let me go ahead and jump through these and give them star ratings. So Frostsaber Matriarch, in this whole Beast synergy package, I'm thinking probably she's going to be 4 stars. I think this package will come together, and I think she'll be pretty strong in it. It's not insane. She's not like destroying everything, but she's a nice threat that you can drop on board, buff with your Beast synergy cards and your other token synergy cards. Nice roadblock for the opponent, and you're also getting an extra threat out there. So very nice. Dire Frostwolf, sticky, hard to deal with, so much value packed into a single card. If it were just a 4 mana 6/6 beast with stealth, I'd be a little bit iffy, but because it leaves behind this body that's going to be even more sticky and difficult to deal with, I think Dire Frostwolf is also 4 stars, maybe 4.5. Frostwolf Kennels, like every objective, it's a little bit slow, but you've got lots of value packed into this, and you're almost certainly getting value out of these cubs because they are stealthed, and whatever the case, they're nice threats. So you've got Frostwolf Kennels as a great value, again, 4 stars. Claw Fury Adept, I'm actually going to give it 4.5 stars because I think not only will it go in this package, but I think it'll go in a number of other aggressive package. The current Taunt Druid, Taunt Aggro Druid, Claw Fury Adept fits really well in that. And so yes, just great. Heart of the Wild will be a key centerpiece for buffing up your Beast token Druid, but it can work in other decks as well. I'm going to give it a 3.5 stars. It's not as vital. It's not guaranteed to make the cut in your Beast token Druid, and if you're just using Taunt token Druid, I don't think it makes the cut there unless people are able to swap out more beasts to make it a little bit more effective. Now you do have Adorable Infestation that is already in there that's going to benefit from this. So maybe Heart of the Wild is actually 4 stars, but we're going to leave it at 3.5. Wing Commander Mulverick can be a little bit awkward to get value from, but if you can set up with maybe a buff or two, maybe an Adorable Infestation alongside him, you'll have quite a bit of value here, and he might not die right away. So you might get like 2 turns with him, thanks to him sticking around on board, especially if you can buff him, keep him alive. And so I think with the tokens on board, with the cubs sticking around on board before you play this guy out, you might be able to set up several honorable kills, getting you a decent bit of value. I'm going to give him 4 stars, a hopeful 4 stars. I think he might actually be 3 stars, but I'm going to give him a hopeful 4 stars. Wild Heart Guff, thinking is going to be, draw a card or gain a mana crystal. You're not doing, you're drawing a card right away and gaining a mana crystal right away. He's not 5 stars. He's good. But setting your maximum mana to 20 takes a long time to matter. However, this new hero power that you get is amazing. Opens the door for cycling through your deck just even faster, though you have to pay 2 mana for it, or gaining a mana crystal to drop bigger threats. Both cases, you're paying a little bit extra just to get that benefit. So I'm going to say Guff is a 4-star card. Not even 4.5, but he is a 4-star card, and he'll enable some really cool, fun, synergistic stuff. Pathmaker, I would say is a 4-star card as well. I think the choose one extra value from your nourishes, from your, even if you're Power of the Wild or the one that's cheaper, Summon a Treant or +1 attack to your minions. All of those have different paths for Pathmaker. She's actually a 4.5. So I think she'll fit into a number of different archetypes, but definitely looking forward to her in our greedy Nourish decks. Pride Seeker, even more flexible and gives you a body. However, I don't think she's quite as necessary. You're getting basically a 1 mana 2/4 if you play her together with a choose one card immediately, though you do get to bank this for an earlier Nourish or something. That banking into a Nourish is just so good that I think, actually no, I am going to give her 4 stars as well. So Pride Seeker is a 4-star card, and Capture Coldtooth Mine, especially with Jerry Rig Carpenter, but even on its own with these others, I think Capture Coldtooth Mine is a 4.5 actually. It's your lowest or highest cost card, not minion, but still, just that selective targeted draw is so good. I think it's not quite 5 stars, but 4.5 definitely. Okay, Holy Omas, welcome. Thank you so much for the sub. 20 months. 2-0. Thank you very much. Oh, that's amazing. Welcome. Let's move on to Mage. So Mage got some cool big spell synergies. Starting off with Belinda Stonehearth. Stonehearth. She's a 6-mana 5/5 battlecry, draw 2 spells, so nice. Swap their costs with this minion's stats. So if you've got high cost spells in your deck, she immediately gains a ton of stats. So the dream is that Belinda Stonehearth, you actually draw 2 Iceblood Towers from your hand or from your deck into hand, and she becomes a nice 6 mana 10/10, and both your Iceblood Towers only cost 5 mana. That is a dream. Now, you would only be able to play 1 Iceblood Tower, I think. I don't think you can play 2 of the same objective out at the same time. Much like Secrets and other cards of that nature. I'm assuming you can only have 1. It would be interesting if you could have 2 of the same objective out at the same time. But I doubt that. So, you have Iceblood Tower that could potentially get pulled off of that, and let's talk about Iceblood Tower real quick. So, it's a 10 mana spell, which at the end of your turn will cast another spell from your deck. Last 3 turns. So to get real value from this, you probably want expensive other spells in your deck. And obviously it's not going to cast the other Iceblood Tower if they do block each other out. But there are several other high cost spells we did get, or we are getting with this set. Starting off with the 9 mana Rune of the Archmage. Cast 20 mana worth of mage spells at enemies. So this is not going to backfire. And I don't know if it's going to cast things like Arcane Intellect and stuff, because that's not a targeted spell at enemies. So I don't think it can cast things like Arcane Intellect, but it can always fill in that last little bit of mana with like a Devolving Missiles or something. So it's going to cast 20 mana worth for just 9 mana, or for free thanks to Iceblood Tower. or for 5 mana, thanks to Belinda Stonehearth, it's going to cast 20 mana worth of mage spells at enemies. And I assume if there are no minions left on the board, oh, is there a 1 mana spell that would actually hit face to fill in that last little bit of mana worth? I'm not entirely sure, but I would assume it has to have targets for each one. But looking forward to just the insane high rolls you're going to get off with this card. I'm going to hate when I see it from an opponent, but I'm going to love being able to play it myself. And I don't think this card really ever backfires, unless maybe it can play cards like Arcane Intellect, and you could fatigue yourself out. But based on the wording, mage spells at enemies, I don't think it's going to cast anything but damage-oriented or devolving type of spells against the opponent. Would that count? Would Mass Polymorph fall within that pool? Because it is affecting enemy minions. However, it would damage your own or transform your own. I don't know. If it does, that could be a little bit of a drawback to the card. But let's look at Mass Polymorph. So Mass Polymorph is a 7 mana arcane spell to transform all minions into 1/1 sheep. So you can wreck priests or resurrect priests day by playing Mass Polymorph. Nizran, howdy. Hope you're doing well today. You can wreck your opponent's day by playing Mass Polymorph. It's going to get rid of death rattles. It's going to get rid of, or it's going to wreck priest's res pool. It's going to knock out divine shields and divine shield synergies. It's going to knock out buff paladins, buffs, all of that stuff. But it is 7 mana, so I'm not sure if you're actually playing it. And if you do have your own minions that you're playing out in your own deck, especially if it comes off of Iceblood Tower, it transforms your Belinda Stonehearth into a 1/1 sheep. Not excited about that. If we're using Belinda Stonehearth to cheat out stuff, and we can't control when Mass Polymorph comes off of Iceblood Tower. So I don't think you run Belinda, Iceblood Tower, and Mass Polymorph in the same deck. Belinda Stonehearth, do you take me for an ordinary mage? No, she is very much not an ordinary mage. So Mass Polymorph is more of an high-cost tech card, but if you're running minions like the Parrot from Dead Mines, if you're running Iceblood Tower or you're running Belinda Stonehearth, it's awkward if you're trying to get it off of Iceblood Tower. So I don't think you're going to see Mass Polymorph nearly as much as the rest of these cards. Now, you want super greed, super value? Arcane Brilliance is a 4 mana arcane spell to add a copy of a 7, 8, 9, and 10 cost spell in your deck to your hand. So, greed. And man, I hope you have mana ramp or mana discounts, which we'll talk about here in a second, to make this actually work, because good heavens, you're going to be stuck with an expensive hand. But you can do so much damage with additional Masks of Cthulhu. You'll have another Rune of the Archmage. You can have another, if you don't run Mask of Cthulhu, you can have another Flame Strike to control the board. You can pull your an extra Iceblood Tower into hand, and yeah, just the insane value from this card. However, it is a little bit awkward if it does get cast by your Iceblood Tower. You get all that extra value in hand, but you actually have to spend the mana on to play them out. And so you're not terribly excited to have this. However, you know what? I'll take the extra value as long as we can stay alive. So if we've got enough of an early minion package alongside all of these insane value spells, maybe we can actually make it work and keep Arcane Brilliance in there. Now, in order to make all of those expensive copies of cards or spells that you just got into your hand actually a little bit more playable, we have a couple options to make them cheaper. The first one is the 2-mana arcane spell, Siphon Mana. Deal 2 damage. Honorable Kill, reduce the cost of spells in your hand by 1. Which means that you're going to hope that your opponent has a 2 health minion out there, or you're not playing this until turn 4 with a hero power, or you've stuck a minion to the board to help set up an honorable kill. But you're going to be able to discount all spells in your hand. So big spells are amazing with this because you get them cheaper, but actually cheap spells are also freaking insane with this, because then you've basically got, say you're an aggro or aggro spell burn mage, or you're a questline mage. This makes your entire hand so much easier to play out, because you've got all those cheap spells that suddenly they go from 1 to 0, or they go from 2 to 1. Even a 3 to 2 is just insane. So Siphon Mana is going in most decks. One thing is it's not going to go into your Iceblood Tower deck because you can't control where this goes. This can go face, which is nice in the late game. You're going to be able to go face with this if you've already got enough mana to play all the spells you want, and you just need that little bit of over-the-top damage to finish them off. You don't have to go into a minion with this. And if you've got spell damage, of course, this feels even better. So Siphon Mana is great, but it's not going to go into your big spell decks if you're running Iceblood Tower. And I think most of the big spell decks are going to be running Iceblood Tower. However, a card that will definitely go into your Iceblood Tower high-cost spell decks is Shivering Sorceress. She's a 1-mana 2/2, so great stats for the cost, with a battle cry to reduce the cost of the highest cost spell in your hand by 1, which means, yes, you get a discount on your Iceblood Tower. It becomes 9 mana, or it becomes 4 mana after drawing out from Belinda Stonehearth. Or if it isn't an aggro, more low-cost spell deck, if you're just dropping one of your 3-cost spells to 2-cost alongside your 1-mana 2/2, so a turn 1 play to play a 1-mana 2/2, and then a turn 2 play to cast a 3-cost spell for just 2 mana. Feels pretty good. It's going to be strong. And so Shivering Sorceress is going to be played in just about any deck that's running spells. So Shivering Sorceress, very, very good. Siphon Mana, maybe more in tempo spell or burn type of mages. Or big spell mages that are not running Iceblood Tower, because Iceblood Tower is 10 mana. It could get stuck in hand and feel a bit awkward to play, but something exciting to look forward to anyways. And then you've got this really cool flavor spell, frost spell for mages. Build a snowman. Want to build a snowman? So we're going to summon a 3/3 snowman that freezes for 3 mana, and then build a snow brute to your hand. And so build a snow brute is 6 mana 6/6 that freezes, and then you add a snow ogre to your hand, which is a 9 mana 9/9 snow ogre that freezes. So 1 card, all the frost spells you needed for your quest line, if you're willing to spend that much mana for them. but the Snow Brute and Snow Ogre could become cheaper thanks to Siphon Mana if you've got that. So build a snowman, tons of value packed into a single card, really cool storyline throughout the cards, and actually the artwork on the minions themselves, we didn't throw that in here, but that looks really cool. So you've got this really cool flavor going on. But I don't know if it sees play in meta decks. It feels good, but I don't know that it's impactful, especially Snow Brute and Snow Ogre without discounts are expensive. Even with Siphon Mana, they're expensive for what you're doing. So really cool, but I don't know if it's going to fit into meta decks. But we are going to build Snow Ogres onto the board. We're going to flood the board. It's going to be fun. And then next up, we've got Amplified Snow Flurry. Fury, Flurry, Furry. Whew. Okay. Amplified Snow Flurry is a 2-mana 2/3 elemental. Battlecry, your next hero power costs 0 and freezes the target. So if it were just your next hero power costs 0 and this was an elemental, not terribly exciting. But the fact that you can freeze an enemy minion or the enemy face with this is very nice. And you get a 0-mana hero power, which means, you actually can play this on 2 and get immediate value. So in a wild fire deck or a Mordresh deck, you're going to get excellent value from this. Even if you draw it late in the game, you're not terribly excited about the hero power costing 0, like you're not getting quite that value from it, but it still freezes a target, which makes this great. Tour Guide +1/+2 stats, and you get the super upside of the freezing a target. So just excellent value there. I think if we can make a hero power mage work, it's going to be amazing. And speaking of hero power mage, in a different direction, you might actually run Magister Dawngrasp. So, Magister Dawngrasp, really cool. 8-mana hero card for mage. Battlecry, recast a spell from each spell school you've cast this game. So if you are running that big spell mage, and you've got just high cost spells from a number of different classes, mainly they've been arcane spells that we've seen for the big cost, and Iceblood Tower and Rune of the Archmage are not class cards or spell school spells, which means you're not going to be able to recast those, but you can recast Arcane Brilliance for super value or Mass Polymorph, but I think there are far better. We'll look after this. There are far better spells you could get for Arcane, and then a super Flame Strike repeated, Deep Freeze repeated for a Frost spell, so quite a bit of power there. And yes, you could get an extra Snowman or Snow Brute or Snow Ogre thanks to Dawngrasp, but you won't know which one you've got if you've cast all 3 of those, because it's recast a spell from each spell school you've cast this game. So no guaranteed. And then yes, a Mask of Cthulhu will be a shadow spell, the only shadow spell mages have access to, unless you do cast Mask of Lunacy. So you'll be guaranteed to get another Mask of Cthulhu if you did cast that before playing Dawngrasp. And then we've also got this really cool hero power, Arcane Burst. So Arcane Burst deals 1 damage. It's the mage hero power. But if you honorable kill an enemy minion, then you gain +2 damage. So this suddenly goes to 3 damage, or 5 damage, or 7 damage. And then you can start just blasting your opponent with 2 mana 7 damage. Now, we also have access to Wildfire. Now, I think when you switch from regular Mage to Dawn Grasp, it will drop your Wildfire buffed hero power back down to dealing just 1 damage. But if Wildfire was the only fire spell you've cast before playing Dawn Grasp will replay Wildfire, and they'll immediately have a deal 2 damage hero power. So you actually start off with a 2 damage hero power that you can buff up to deal extra damage. Now, I doubt this, but if it does work, Reckless Apprentice, after switching to Arcane Burst, will be insane. If the honorable kills coming off of Reckless Apprentice, knocking out your opponent's 2 health minions, Reckless Apprentice casting your hero power, actually increases the power of your Arcane Burst, that would be insane. I don't think it'll work that way. But if it does, it's going to be insane. Because fire your hero power at all enemies. Does that mean if you hit a 2 health minion with Reckless Apprentice, or if you hit two health minions with Reckless Apprentices, will your hero power suddenly skyrocket by +2/+2? I mean, by +2 or +4? I don't know, but I'm curious to find out if it works that way. And definitely looking forward to building this into a Mordresh Mage, and just getting insane value with hero powers. Dawn Grasp will transform your original one, and I do believe you will lose the Wildfire buff, but if it was your only fire spell, you will immediately go back to at least 2 damage with it. And then we just need ways to get, Potion of Illusion on Mordresh so that we can go crazy with that. And maybe if Potion of Illusion was our only arcane spell that we've cast, we'll get extra Reckless Apprentices or whatever we have out there when we play Magister Dawn Grasp. So there's some interesting directions we can go with Dawn Grasp and Hero Power Mage. But honestly, this is just a nice upside. So Dawn Grasp can go into big spells, or it can go into Hero Power Mage. Both directions look very interesting for them. All right, and that's it for Mage. Jaina, do you want to build a snowman? Come on, let's go and play. Oh wait, Frostless Jaina will love Mass Polymorph. Oh yes, in Wild, everything goes to 1 health and she can ping it off and get an elemental. Yes, definitely. Oramek, great point. Heavy, expensive, but will be insane. The only downside is that you will transform your own elementals, you will transform your own water elementals that you've made up to that point into sheep as well, and then they can just trade them off. But there will almost always be at least 1 sheep for you to transform into a water elemental in the outcome. And by the time you've played Frostlich Jaina, you'll have enough mana to follow up Mass Polymorph immediately with a ping. So yeah, great value, great power there. But yes, Biss, thank you for the point on Mask of Cthulhu being recast by Dawn Grasp. That will be very good. They better, or there will be so much rage. Ooh, when did you say that? What were you talking about in response to that? Oh, are you talking about Reckless Apprentice? With Arcane Burst, that insane value? I mean, it could work that way. Fire your hero power at all enemies. And you're firing Arcane Burst at all enemies. And if you've got 2 damage thanks to Wildfire, or you've got, it buffed up to 3 damage thanks to just pulling off an honorable kill, finishing it off, then good heavens, that will be insane. I'm looking forward to it if it does work that way. I mean, I'm looking forward to it either way. But if it does work that way, we can make Dawn Grasp Hero Power Mage something absurdly powerful. It's slow. 8 mana to play Magister and then do crazy stuff with Reckless Apprentice. So again, we need, combo decks and aggro decks not to murder us before we can get to those late game plays. But yeah, and there's no way in Standard to reduce the cost of Dawn Grasp. We can, of course, reduce the cost of Potion of Illusion thanks to the Celestial Ink set and maybe some other options, other discount cards, to pair with Mordresh. So not terribly difficult. Now, actually, to reduce the cost of Potion of Illusion, Shivering Sorceress would not hit the Wildfire. It would hit the Potion of Illusion if that is the cheapest or most expensive spell in our hand. And then Siphon Mana would get recast at a random target. It could hit us coming off of Magister, but it could also hit the enemy. And so the likelihood of getting an honorable kill from Siphon Mana off of Magister is extremely unlikely, and it can backfire hit us. So I'm not sure if we want Siphon Mana in a Magister deck. But Shivering Sorceress to reduce the cost of our Potions of Illusion. We play 2 Shivering Sorceresses. That's 2 mana Potion of Illusion, which means we can play Mordresh and Potion of Illusion for 10 mana easy, and get an extra Mordresh. That will be quite a bit more reliable and doesn't make us run an awkward card like Celestial Ink set. So yeah, I think Shivering Sorceress, Mordresh, Potion of Illusion, Wildfire, that whole package will be very good. We probably won't get a Potion of Illusion off of Magister unless we use our first copy before Magister. Or we play our Mordresh before Magister. And then we do that whole line. And later in the game, we get extra copies of maybe our 1/1 Mordreshes. Oh gosh. Yeah, we play Mordresh and Potion of Illusion. We have a 1 mana Mordresh in hand. And then our follow-up is to play a Mordresh and then play Magister Dawn Grasp and get the new buffed hero power thanks to Wildfire. But then also we get an extra Potion of Illusion Mordresh back in hand. All of this for just 9 mana. It's gonna be fun. There's gonna be some fun stuff we can do with Hero Power Mage especially, but also Big Spell Mage is looking fun too, looking powerful. So actually, I think Mage is gonna be a lot of fun this expansion. The fun decks are probably not going to be powerful. Oh, right, we need to do star ratings. But the fun factor is going to be just out of this world. Okay, so star ratings. Magister Dawn Grasp, I think, is a 4.5 star card. Not quite 5 stars. Amplified Snow Flurry is a 4-star card. Yes, 4-star card. Build a Snowman is a 2.5 star card. A little bit awkward. Great in Questline Mage if they were willing to pay for the Snow Brute and Snow Ogre, but I don't think they are, and I don't think most decks are going to be willing to run it. So 2.5 stars, not quite 3 stars. Shivering Sorceress, however, is a 5-star card. It's just good in every single Mage deck. The stats are great for the cost and the discount, no matter if you're just running low-cost spells or you're running wacky combo decks or big spells. You're running Shivering Sorceress. The only thing she doesn't make the cut in is no minion Mage. So 5-star card. Siphon Mana is a 3.5 star card. Not quite 4 stars, but still great because she is awkward in the recast from Dawn Grasp, the Iceblood Tower, but she does enable some other crazy stuff. So I think she's going to make the cut in quite a few, it's going to make the cut in quite a few decks, but not all of them. So Siphon Mana is a 3.5. Arcane Brilliance, the greed. It's a 3-star card because just the super value that you can get off of this. Yes, you're flooding your hand with expensive spells, which you probably will discount with Siphon Mana. But I think Arcane Brilliance will make the cut in a version of Big Spell Mage. Probably a tier 3 version. But yes, I think it will make the cut. Mass Polymorph, unfortunately, because of the downside and being expensive as it is, I think is only a 2-star card. Powerful, very nice effect, Death Rattle, Wreckage, but I don't think it's going to be worth running. It will be amazing when it's discovered and you need it, but I don't think it's a card, especially due to its counter synergy with Iceblood Tower, that is going to actually make the cut. Ruin of the Archmage is a 4-star card? 3.5 4-star card? I think it's a 4-star card. Not exactly sure if it will always cast damage to the enemy or target the enemy spells. If so, maybe it's a 4.5 star card, because you can't fatigue yourself or burn your own cards with Arcane Intellect off of this. Or, actually, I'll take the extra mana back off of a Refreshing Spring Water. But I think it's a 4-star card. Iceblood Tower, if we can get to it, and if, I guess, we're probably using Belinda Stonehearth to get to it a little cheaper, is a 4-star card. Not quite 5 stars, but yes, 4-star card. Just for the insane amount of value in a big spell mage. And I don't think you run it in a smaller spell mage. So it's just one archetype, which might actually drop it down to a 3.5, but we're going to stick with 4 stars for it. And then Belinda Stonehearth, big spell mage, you're running her, and so she makes big spell mage so much more powerful. I'm actually going to go ahead and give her 5 stars because I think she makes big spell mage viable, and actually might be able to make it into a tier 2 deck, thanks almost entirely to Belinda Stonehearth, because she will draw and gain quite a bit of stats on herself if you've built your deck right, and allows you to cheat out those high cost spells so much faster when you draw her, which means the question is, how reliably will you be able to draw this legendary from your deck? Will the deck fall on its face when you don't draw her early, or earlier? So she's got an insane upside. She enables the archetype, basically new archetype, and so I think she is 5 stars. I just do wonder if big spell mage, even with her in it, will be a tier 2 or a tier 3 deck. I think it can make it to tier 2 thanks to her, but we'll see. And those are the star ratings for mage. That would scale the hero power faster than you can normally. Oh yes, it would, definitely. Thanks to Reckless Apprentice. Now the question is, if Reckless Apprentice does work with Arcane Burst, will it change your hero power while he's going through the minions? So I think he normally goes from left to right. So if he does, say, 2 damage because you recast the wildfire, say he does 2 damage to the first minion, and it kills it, honorable kills. Will the second minion take 4 damage from the hero power? Will it already have upgraded to dealing 4 damage if this actually works? And then, so it would take out a 2 health minion, a 4 health minion, and then a 6 health minion? Like, would it work like that or not? That would be absolutely insane. So we've got the question of, does Reckless Apprentice increase the hero power? Will it increase its damage across the course of his battle cry? Probably not. And that, even if it did work, it would probably just do 2 damage to everything and then upgrade afterwards. So you manage to get 2 honorable kills on two different 2 health minions. So suddenly your hero power goes from 2 damage to 6 damage. I don't think it would upgrade in the middle of his battle cry going off. But who knows? Like, I'm really curious to see how it works out. If it works at all with honorable kill. It'll be fun. Okay. Speaking of fun, Shaman. Freeze Shaman is a thing. Finally. When we go into Wild, we are getting value with Morabi. But even in Standard, Freeze Shaman is a thing. It's going to be amazing. And the reason it's going to be amazing is thanks to these first 2 cards. So, first card, Wind Chill, is a 1 mana frost spell to freeze a minion and draw a card. 1 mana, draw a card. Good. 1 mana, freeze a minion, draw a card. Insanely good. You're going to freeze them in place. You're going to cycle through your deck. You're going to enable your Baron Glacier, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, which will also be insane value even later in the game, thanks to a nice parrot we got in Dead Mines. Okay, so Wind Chill. Busted good. Sleepbreaker. 2 mana, 3/2. Aggressively statted, elemental. Battle cry, add a Wind Chill to your hand. So 3 mana play is to drop Sleepbreaker. You get a nice 3/2 body out there, freeze an enemy minion, and draw a card, all for just 3 mana. Powerful. Very good. Very strong. Cycle through the deck. Oh my gosh. Yes. Let's do it. Free Shaman is a thing. Sleepbreaker will also go in just your average elemental shaman that you've already got, which is a powerful archetype. You get this extra upside. It is aggressively statted. There's no downside to running Sleepbreaker. You play it. So Sleepbreaker, I'm gonna go ahead and say 5 stars. Wind Chill actually I think is 5 stars, but let's keep the star ratings afterwards. Okay, so Frostbite, 2 mana frost spell, deal 3 damage. Honorable kill, your opponent's next spell costs 2 more. 2 mana, 3 damage, not bad. 2 mana, 3 damage that can go face. Good. 2 mana, 3 damage, frost spell that also increased the opponent's next spell by 2. Disruption galore. Just about every deck is running spells, so if you can set up the honorable kill on this, the upside is amazing. Frostbite also very, 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 very strong. So right there, with double Wind Chill, actually quadruple Wind Chill thanks to Sleepbreaker, and double Frostbite, you've got 6 frost spells that you basically want to play. But you've also got Snowball Fight, a 3 mana frost spell to deal 1 damage to a minion and freeze it. This you get to target. You get to focus on that, and you're going to hit it. So you know you're going to freeze that minion. And if that minion has more than 1 health, then it's going to repeat this on another minion. So basically, your Snowball Fight is freeze 1 minion, but because you almost certainly chose a minion with more than 1 health, you're going to freeze a second minion. A little bit of a downside. Another minion, not another enemy minion, which means if you've got your own minions out there, you could end up freezing your own. But if your opponent just summoned a glowfly swarm full board of glowflies, you cast Snowball Fight, and bing, 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 you might end up freezing their entire board. Now, what could happen is you actually, the low roll is you hit a glowfly swarm, and then it hits another glowfly, and then it goes back to that first glowfly and kills off that glowfly before freezing any others. So you only froze 1 extra minion out there. But there's also the high roll that every single one of them could be frozen, and then it kills off one of them. So Snowball Fight has quite a bit of RNG going on there, and it can knock out your own minions, but the upside of being able to freeze most of the time at least 2 of your opponent's minions and have dealt at least 2 damage to them, very, very good. So I think Snowball Fight is great in control archetypes, but also as just a nice freeze spell in especially a Frost Shaman deck. So what's the payoff for playing all of these Frost spells? Barren Glacier is a 7 mana 6/6 elemental, so you've got elemental synergies going on there as well. Battlecry: for each Frost spell you've cast this game, summon a 3/4 elemental that freezes, and it's this frozen staggered. A full board of 3/4s, decent. I mean, sure, a Flame Strike wipes them all out, except for Barren Glacier itself. You're sad. But against anybody who doesn't have wide board, pretty high damaged AoE, this board of staggereds is great. And against aggro decks, if you don't die immediately after, then you've got all these staggereds that are able to run in and freeze all the enemy minions and enemy face, because any character damaged by this will be frozen. And so you can go in and basically lock down their entire board and buy you the time for follow-ups. And if they do flame strike your entire board, we have Brilliant Macaw to repeat the last battle cry you played, meaning another full board of staggereds. And oh my gosh, your opponent actually runs 2 flame strikes and managed to take them out. Third Brilliant Macaw. And then you finally have a sticking board of 3/4 elementals that can freeze everything, wreck your opponent's dreams. I mean, that's 18 damage from frozen staggereds if you do summon a full board of them. So, yeah, I think Free Shaman is going to be amazing. And actually, this is not all of the Free Shaman package. There's even more, because there's also the Shaman objective, is a 4 mana spell, Wild Paw Cavern. At the end of your turn, summon a 3/4 elemental that freezes. It lasts 3 turns. You're getting more of these staggereds. And usually the elemental synergies have been play an elemental. So summoning all these extra elementals, in standard at least, I don't think there's a real benefit to the fact that they are elementals, but good heavens, you're able to reliably get basically 3 of these 3 mana 3/4s out on the board. You get to freeze up their stuff, you get to smack their face, weapons aren't going to be effective against you, a couple big minions, you can stall a couple turns, you're going to have a guaranteed way to deal with it, or it's going to absorb damage from their minions, their spells that they aren't able to send to face because they don't want their stuff frozen. Like, the upside of this, yes, it's a 4 mana essentially pass turn, but you are getting this immediate 3 drop, so you're sacrificing 1 mana extra to get a minion that wouldn't normally have been able to attack anyways at the end of your turn. And then you get the upside of 2 more minions. So I think the payoff is worth it. And just the freeze mess with them is just amazing. I'm actually going to jump ahead for a second. The reason you're actually really excited about all of these freeze effects, however, is that Cheaty Snowballed exists. Because Cheaty Snowballed is a 3 mana 3/4. After an enemy is frozen, deal 3 damage to it. So you have all these frozen staggards out there, or you have all these frost spells. You drop a Cheaty Snowballed, and then attack with the staggered or play the frost spell, and you deal 3 extra damage to them. By the way, this is an enemy, which includes the enemy's face. You play Cheaty Snowballed after a couple of your frozen staggards survived on board, and frozen staggered. Now, actually, I'm not sure. You attack the enemy minion or enemy face with frozen staggered. I wonder if it's just the first time they get frozen, it'll deal 3 extra damage to them, or if 3 staggards going into their face, each time they freeze the enemy face, if it'll deal 3 damage extra. I think it'll probably only be the first time in the turn. But even so, Cheaty Snowballed will be great. And that might actually make you want to freeze some of their enemy minions as well, rather than just going all face. But I'm curious how Cheaty Snowballed counts for that. But yes, insane damage regardless with all this freeze synergy. And if you want to get immediate boatloads of damage on everything for 8 mana, you drop a Cheaty Snowball, and then you play this Snowfall Guardian. 5 mana, 3/3 elemental, battle cry, freeze all other minions, gain +1/+1 for each frozen minion. Now this will affect your own minions as well. So if you've got Cheaty Snowball is cheat, yes. If you've got a couple minions out there yourself, and then your enemy's board is full of, or almost full of minions, this guy is going to gain a ridiculous amount of health, or stats. So it becomes a 5 mana 8/8, quite easily. Now your Cheaty Snowball goes down to a 3 mana 2/4, that is, 2/3, that is much more susceptible, and he is frozen because he got frozen as well. However, your opponent's board all got frozen, and if any of them are at 3 health or less, they're dead. And if they're not, they took 3 damage thanks to Cheaty Snowball. So you've got these amazing frost synergies going on, freeze and frost synergies within Shaman. One of the frost spells that I'm not terribly excited about, but is still interesting, is Glaciate. A 6 mana frost spell to discover an 8 cost minion, summon and freeze it. Now, if you're lucky, you get a Moarg Forge Fiend off of this, which is an 8 mana taunt, and when it dies, it will get you 8 armor. If you can get that off of Glaciate, you are so happy because it has taunt, they have to deal with it. You're not worried about the fact that it didn't have, or it's frozen. And so you've got this huge upside. If you discover a rush minion off of this, then it will be frozen. It won't have rush, but it will be able to attack the next turn because it missed an attack thanks to freeze. So rush minions are also okay coming off of this. Now if you get, I think Grommash in Warrior is charge. I think he's 8 mana. I don't think he's 9 mana. And so he also misses his charge attack, but he's an interesting conundrum for your opponent to get around as well. They have to basically sink the damage into him, or else he's going to follow up with some massive threat. So the 8-cost minion pool is big enough that you've got, sometimes you're just going to get 5/5s and 6/6s as your options, but most of the time you're going to get a decent option at least. However, if it doesn't have taunt, or is not a rush or charge minion, this is awkward, because you might just be stuck with a not so great 6/6 or even 7/7. Well, I don't know if there are actually any 7/7s, but mediocre stats minion that's basically not doing anything for 2 turns. Not the turn you play this, not the following turn, and your opponent just ignores it, and smacks you in the face a bunch. Natalie, you're not going to choose Natalie off of Glaciate. No, you're not. So fortunately, as a discover mechanic, you can avoid the absolute worst case scenario. But you might get Natalie and 2 5/5s as your options, and you're very, very, very sad. But Glaciate is a mediocre card, and you can get some insane high rolls off of it. And finally, we have Brucon himself, the hero card. So Brucon of the Elements, 8 mana, hero card, of course 5 mana, 5 armor, but Battlecry, call upon the power of 2 elements. So what are the elements? They are Lightning Invocation, Earth Invocation, Fire Invocation, and Water Invocation. So Lightning Invocation, deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. Earth Invocation, summon 2/2/3 elementals with taunt. Fire Invocation deals 6 damage to the enemy hero. And Water Invocation restores 6 health to all friendly characters, including yourself. So, probably, the turn you play Brucon, you're most likely going to use it to stabilize the board. So maybe dealing 2 damage to all enemy minions and drop a couple taunts in the way so that the opponent can't kill you as a follow-up. But if you're in a good spot, you might be able to just do the 6 damage to their face right away. In which case, this is really nice. Or maybe you actually you're on the back foot entirely, and maybe it's a questline mage, or they don't really have minions. You might just use Water Invocation, but you might also, for a little bit of counter pressure, throw out the elementals there with Earth Invocation. So you've got those 2 options. And then actually immediately, if you do have 10 mana, you will have one of the following, or the other 2 choices that you didn't choose, as his starting hero power. So for example, if you used Lightning Invocation and Earth Invocation to help stabilize, and you are low health, you might actually have the Water Invocation right away that you can play as well, to help you really swing the board, stabilize. And then you're going to get one of these 4 randomly each turn. So you can't control which one it's going to be. This is like Dr. Boom Mad Genius, in that it's going to roll into one of these 4 each turn. It's never going to be the same one 2 turns in a row, but it could just end up swapping between Lightning Invocation and Water Invocation, Lightning Invocation and Water Invocation, and you're like, come on, I just need the Fire Invocation to deal that 6 damage to them over the top of their board of clowns, buffed clowns. If I can get Fire Invocation and deal the 6 direct damage, they will die. So you're going to be like hoping and praying that you get the Fire Invocation. But all of these are decent. The Lightning Invocation this late in the game is going to feel weak. And the Water Invocation, you're going to be sad if you're actually doing pretty well that you got it. But, I mean, just 2 mana, summon 2/3 elementals with taunt, no downside. Like, oh gosh, what is the one that summons the wolves? But that, you don't have any overload, there's no real downside to that. And then the Fire Invocation is going to help you just push that last bit of damage that you need to finish them off. So Brucon feels strong, feels powerful, not absolutely game-breaking, and he is expensive, but you're stabilizing. You're gaining 5 armor, maybe gaining health, probably summoning something onto the board, maybe even getting to do a little bit of burst damage right away. So I think he's going to be played quite a bit. He's a fair and strong, but strong hero power, or hero card. All right, let's do the star ratings real quick. Brucon of the Elements, I think he's a 4-star card. He's not a 5-star card, for the reasons I just mentioned. Glaciate is a 2.5 stars. I think it has potential, but overall, it's probably not going to make the cut in meta decks. Cheaty Snowballed is a 4-star card. I think there is enough of the Frost package that Frost Shaman is a thing, and I think Cheaty Snowballed makes the cut in that deck most of the time, because the potential for extra burst damage on this guy is just too good to ignore. So 4-star card. Snowfall Guardian, 4.5 stars. Not quite 5 stars. But I think Snowfall Guardian, swing the board. It does have the downside of freezing your own stuff, but this guy can be huge, lock down your entire opponent's board, and then the following turn he gets to punch in for 8 damage or whatever he got. So great, powerful, swing against aggro, stabilize against aggro card, and has potential for so much burn, so much power. So Snowfall Guardian, 5-star card. Wildpaw Cavern is a 3-star card. The value is there. It's kind of a pass turn, but actually you're paying an extra mana tax for a decent minion right away, and then 2 extra minions down the road. So I think 4-star card. I think it will see play in the Frost Shaman decks, and Frost Shaman decks will probably be a tier 2 deck. Baron Glacier, especially with Brilliant Macaw as a follow-up, I think is a 5-star card. Which means I think Frost Shaman will be a tier 2 deck, because he's the top end of that deck, and in order to make him 5 stars, I have to assume that it is actually a tier 2 deck, and I think it is. Especially thanks to Windchill and Sleepbreaker. But so Glacier, 5-star card. Optimistic, but yes. Snowball Fight, 4-star card. Nice control tool, lots of value that you're getting, hopefully, but it does have that RNG factor that drops it down in value in my mind a little bit. So we'll go with 4-star card, but I don't think it drops to 3.5. Frostbite, 2 mana, 3 damage face, great. Honorable kill, this upside, disruption factor, amazing. 4-star card. Not broken, but really good. So 4-star card. Sleepbreaker, 5-star card. The Windchill is a 5-star card. This body together with that and an extra Windchill, 5 stars, definitely. Sleepbreaker, 5.5-star card. We're breaking the mold. We are going excess. Sleepbreaker is just too good. It's amazing. So yes, we're breaking the rules and giving Sleepbreaker a 5.5 because it's just too much value packed into one. It's too good. And that's Shaman. Let's start looking at the Warlock cards. So Warlocks have some interesting synergies going on in the class, but we're actually going to start with one of the most peculiar and potentially awkward cards. Hollow Abomination is a 5 mana 2/8 with a battle cry to deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, and then honorable kill, gain the minion's attack. Now, if you can set things up to where at least one enemy minion only has, if you can set things up to where at least one enemy minion only has 1 health left, then this is going to gain that minion's attack. It's not going to gain health, but then again, at 8 health, it's pretty strong. Now, you've either got to have stuff on board, or the opponent fortunately has a minion with only 1 health left over, in order to actually get value from this. So a little bit awkward to set up, but also there is the potential high roll that you kill 2 or 3 minions with this, and you get quite a bit of extra stats. So yes, Hollow Abomination, a little bit awkward, can have some real high rolls, but I don't think, unless you've got something like Lord Barov in Warlock, which we don't currently have, to set the enemies to 1 health, then I don't think you actually run Hollow Abomination. And he's not like a tribe of any type, so you're not going to discover him either. So Hollow Abomination, perhaps the most awkward of the Warlock cards that we're seeing. However, these next 2 cards are kind of interesting. We've got a 3 mana 3/3 Sacrificial Summoner. He's got Battle Cry, destroy a friendly minion, summon a minion from your deck that costs 1 more. So Sacrificial Summoner could be used as a tutor to pull out a specific mana cost from your deck, or you could just use it to break open an egg for you, such as this Boneweb egg or Nerubian egg that we've got here to the side. And you summon a 3-cost minion from your deck. Hopefully not the other Sacrificial Summoner, but in the worst case scenario, it's another 3/3 on board alongside either your 2/2/1 spiders or your 4/4 Nerubian. Which is not bad for turn 3. Turn 2, play one of these eggs. Turn 3, play a 3 mana 3/3, break open the eggs, and summon something for 3 cost from your deck. That's strong. So I think Sacrificial Summoner goes into a Egg Zoo deck. And I think it works out quite well. So Sacrificial Summoner, good for potentially pulling something more expensive from your deck. For example, you play Sacrificial Summoner on a 7-cost minion and you pull an 8-cost minion out of your deck. Obviously, you had to sacrifice your 7-cost minion that may have been on their last legs anyways. They were probably going to die to an AoE. They only had 1 or 2 health left over. Maybe. There are situations where Sacrificial Summoner could be great there, but if you're trying to set that up and your opponent actually does finish off your 7-health minion, your 7-cost minion, you're really sad because Sacrificial Summoner then becomes meh or useless. So I think Sacrificial Summoner is more likely to find super value in Egg Zoo style of decks. And then we've got Desecrated Graveyard. At the end of your turn, destroy your lowest attack minion to summon a 4/4 Shade. Lasts 3 turns. So if you've paid 3 mana for this, 1, you're taking a pass turn. But again, if you do a 2 mana curve of one of your eggs into this on 3, you do break that egg, and you weren't going to be able to attack with whatever was in the egg anyways. But you break the egg, and then you also get a 4/4 alongside the broken egg. Now, of course, there's the argument that if you aren't able to stick anything out there, or you stick a nice value minion out there, and this just kills it because it was your lowest attack minion out there, or it kills the Desecrated Shade that you still had sticking out there from last turn, and replaces itself, maybe it gained 1 or 2 health back, then the value there is not as exciting. So this is a we built low-cost, high-value death rattle minions into the deck, or we've got a bunch of small tokens out there that we're sacrificing, and we're quite happy to transform them into 4/4s at the end of the turn. So at the deck building stage, in a zoo token style with some eggs in it, I think Desecrated Graveyard can see play. It's just not quite as exciting as Sacrificial Summoner is, because that's more targeted. But you're potentially getting 12/12 in shade stats, as long as you've got low-cost things to sacrifice out there. But that also means this is not just a 3-mana card. This is at least, to get the great value from it, let's say 1 mana for 1/1s that you're playing out there is the base cost. You're paying 6 mana essentially to get 12/12 in shade value, in order to actually get that value. So not terribly exciting, but I mean, over time the value may be worth it. And you can trigger Tamsin's Phylactery minion values on little tokens that you manage to get out there. So Tamsin's Phylactery is a 4-mana shadow spell. Discover a friendly death rattle minion that died this game. Give your minions its death rattle. So in the deck archetypes we were talking about already, Nerubian Egg with Tamsin's Phylactery feels great, because if you play, say, Nerubian Egg on 2, Sacrificial Summoner on 3, and then actually Wicked Shipment plus Tamsin's Phylactery on 5, so we skip a turn, then you get at least 2 more Nerubian Egg value out there. But Wicked Shipment or the Circle, Fell Circle that summons 4 1/1 imps, you might stick 1 or 2 of those imps till the following turn. You'll have several targets for Tamsin's Phylactery to go on and summon you 4/4 Nerubians. So I think that's one interesting direction you can go with this. But of course you have the exciting super value, we're going to do it, Envoy Rustwicks. You play Envoy Rustwicks out there and you kill him off, and then you summon a board with Wicked Shipment or whatever it is, a nice wide board, and you get insane value from in primes. Or, as Kaj just mentioned in chat, you could get Humongous Owl OTK. So Humongous Owl, I believe, is 7 mana, so you're not playing Tamsin's Phylactery until later in the game. But if you manage to... Now, to remind people, Humongous Owl is Death Rattle, deal 8 damage to an enemy. If you have a nice full board with Wicked Shipment that you drop the Tamsin's Phylactery on, and then your opponent, either has to awkwardly try to deal with the little 1/1s that have the Humongous Owl Death Rattles on them, or they have to ignore them and try to kill you beforehand, because your little 1/1s will be able to trade into anything they have out there and either kill themselves off or kill your opponent's face off. The one downside to that is that if your little 1/1s do trigger their Humongous Owl Death Rattles into their minions rather than their face, the Humongous Owl Death Rattle could end up, you run out of targets to kill your little 1/1s off. But then you just have School Spirits or something like that, and you kill them all off yourself. So yeah, no, actually, even if you your opponent's board is completely empty, you're actually great, because you get to you get to School Spirits and destroy them all, and then you deal, maybe best case scenario, 7 times 8 to the enemy face. So 56 damage, I believe that is, to the enemy face. And by the way, if you play original Tamsin, the 3 mana 1/3 Tamsin out there, into Tamsin's Phylactery, you can get another 0 cost Tamsin's Phylactery back in hand and get even more insane value. The greed, the possibilities are insane. Rustwix is going to be great. Humongous Owl is going to be great. Nerubian Egg will be okay in that style of deck. There are many different directions you could go. Heck, even a Claw Machine, buff and cycle through your deck type of Death Rattle package could be insane. So Tamsin's Phylactery opens the door for quite a few different archetypes. It is 4 mana to just give your minions Death Rattle, so it is slow on its turn, which means maybe the Zoo style doesn't want it, even with the Nerubian Egg value. But there's a lot of craziness we can pull with it. And then let's look at Dreadlich Tamsin. So Dreadlich Tamsin is a 6 mana hero card with Battlecry. Deal 3 damage to all enemies, or all minions. So it's like Hagatha of old for 2 mana less. Shuffle 3 rifts into your deck. So these Fel Rifts are Fel spells that cast when drawn to summon a 3/3 Dread Imp. Demon synergy is going on there. Fel synergy is going on there. All very nice. And draw 3 cards. The value. So, Dreadlich Tamsin's Battle Cry alone is powerful. By the way, you have this very nice Chains of Dread hero power that replaces your original. You no longer take damage when you tap. You actually shuffle an extra Fel Rift into your deck. Now, some people have been saying that Dreadlich Tamsin is not so great in Questline Warlock. I disagree. Yes, you lose the ability to damage yourself with your hero power, but you shuffle a Fel Rift into your deck. Now, if you're looking to kill your opponent as quickly as possible with the Zoo style and using that hero power, leveraging that hero power to damage them, that particular build is not going to be so great with Dreadlich Tamsin in it. But if you're going for the fatigue direction of that deck, 1, her Battlecry draws you cards. 2, you get Fel Rifts shuffled into your deck, which are going to help your board presence to fight for the board while you're working towards your fatigue, or you shuffle this Fel Rift into the deck after you're already at fatigue, and you immediately get a 3/3 alongside the damage. Now, again, you're still not getting the damage to yourself from the 2 mana you're paying to tap, so you are losing 2 immediate damage from the hero power. But you're gaining 3/3s on board to continue putting pressure to keep you alive until you can actually fatigue yourself or fatigue your opponent to death. So a little bit of a trade-off there, but I think the Fel Rifts and the card draw to cycle towards fatigue off of Dreadlich Tamsin is just too good not to include in the fatigue direction styles of decks, or of the quest line. And of course, she's great on her own. So even if you're not using the quest line, she's just busted good. So Dreadlich Tamsin is exciting for a number of different archetypes. Just not the Zoo style, Zoo aggro burn the opponent style of Questline Warlock. Now, speaking of those Fel Rifts, there is actually a little bit of a Fel spell package coming to Warlocks, and starting off with this 2 mana Seeds of Destruction that shuffles 4 Rifts into your deck. They summon a 3/3 Dread Imp when drawn. So exactly the same as we just saw for Tamsin herself. And by the way, all of these are Fel spells. The Fel Rifts and the Seeds of Destruction itself are all Fel spells, which are important for this next spell we're going to talk about. By the way, 2 mana, delayed gratification to summon basically 12/12 across the course of the game. If you've got a high cycle, high speed cycle through the deck, then it's going to be effective, but of course you have the delay, so there is that little bit of a drawback. But to help you cycle through the deck and get additional value from the Fel spells and all these Fel Rifts that you're shuffling into the deck, you do have Fel Fire in the Hole, a 5 mana Fel spell, to draw a spell and deal 2 damage to all enemies, or if it's a Fel spell, deal 1 more, so 3 damage to all enemies. And all enemies includes the enemy's face. So 5 damage, clear, and deal 3 damage, probably, to their face. I say probably because unless you're trying to get value from Tamsin's Phylactery, you're probably built your deck with mostly Fel spells. So you've got all of that going on. And then another 3 mana Fel spell is to deal 5 damage, randomly split among all enemy minions, repeatable this turn. A little bit expensive to repeat, but it's basically Minefield, but just focused on the enemy board. 3 mana, 5 damage, it's okay. Now you toss out a Moarg Artificer together with this. It's a 5 mana combo to deal 10 damage randomly split among the enemy board and knock out probably their entire board. Especially if you're able to repeat this again, you've got 8 mana. Excuse me. And you're left with a Moarg Artificer out there. You don't have to sacrifice the Moarg for the clear. And so your opponent still needs to deal with him. But full-blown evil, interesting. I think it'll be good. I'm not sure how good. And Felfire in the Hole also good. Still not sure how good. Now we've also got Fellwalker, 6 mana, 3/7 taunt or demon with taunt and Battlecry. Cast the highest cost Fel spell from your hand. So a good cheap way perhaps to get Felfire in the Hole. Now there aren't an insane number of Fel spells available to Warlock in Standard right now. Felfire in the Hole is one of the better ones to cast, and if the board state is not great, like this combo, Fellwalker into Felfire in the Hole, to draw you a spell from your deck, and so you've got a taunt and an AoE on the enemy and just a little bit of face damage in there as well, is great stabilization. But that does mean you need to be running both of these, and you have to have drawn both of them to have that. So a little bit of an interesting situation there, but 6 mana, 3/7 taunt is not a bad body, and you get a free Fel spell. But if you're not actually or if you're not excited about the Fel spell, or you just play this without a Fel spell in hand, it's disappointing. So maybe not. And then the final Warlock card is Grave Defiler, a 1 mana, 2/1 Battlecry, copy a Fel spell in your hand. Now, the Fel spells are interesting. They're kind of decent control, but they're not. None of them are like, oh my gosh, I really want additional copies of this, is the impression that I have for these Fel spells. However, we do have Philosophy. And Philosophy is a Fel spell that will get us an extra copy of a demon in hand. And I've always wanted ways to get additional copies of Philosophy so that we can get even more copies of our very nice demons, big demons. So if you want a decent early minion for a non-demon, early minion for your big demon Warlock, that will get you even more philosophy value. Grave Defiler is great. And by the way, the copy of Philosophy that you'll get will be in the outcast position. So if you have the demon that you want to make a copy of already available, then on turn 2, you play Grave Defiler into Philosophy, and you get a buffed extra copy of that big demon that you're looking forward to. So how many Takaduses can we play in a game? Or how many... We probably don't want Fellwalker, but how many other crazy, insane, huge minions? How many extra Rustwixes will we have? The number of primes we will be able to shuffle into our deck with this package alongside Tamsin's Phylactery, we could play like 100 primes in a single game. Not a good game plan, not a strong deck, but there's craziness that can and will be had. So there is the package for Warlock. Now this whole Fell spell package, unfortunately, I don't feel is terribly strong. So let's go ahead and give these guys and gals ratings, star ratings. Grave Defiler is a 3.5 star card. Just because the weakness of the Fell spells, but it's going to be fun. Fellwalker is a 3-star card. Could potentially make it into a tier 3 deck. Probably does make it into a tier 3 deck with all of this Fell package, but I don't think it'll be tier 2. Full Blown Evil is a 3.5 star card. I think it might make it into decks, control decks, that aren't necessarily focused on the Fell package, but are just looking for an effective way, and it feels okay later in the game, looking for an effective way to deal with the opponent's board, aggro boards. And so, yeah, 3.5 stars. Fellfire in the hole, a little bit awkward, but actually much more enabled by Fell Rift and Tamsin's Fell Rifts that she shuffles in. And so I think it will be actually a lot more reliable in a Fell spell-oriented deck, but that Fell spell-oriented deck will probably be tier 3, maybe even tier 4, high tier 4. So 3-star card. Seeds of Destruction, however, I'm going to give it a 2.5 stars. I don't think it necessarily makes the cut in Fell spell decks. And it doesn't make the cut in most any other deck because you have to draw into it. Now, if we do build a super heavy cycle aggro deck and you're just counting on getting to these Dread Imps so much faster, maybe something comes together with that and it actually bumps up to a 3-star card, or even a 3.5 at that point. But I'm going to go ahead and call 2.5. So below average. And then Dread Lich Tamsin, 4-star card. She's not 5 stars. She's not insane, but she's great. And so she's a 4, maybe even a 4.5 star card. Let's go ahead and say Tamsin is a 4.5 star card. So pretty good, pretty strong, nice card draw, amazing in that respect. And she is low enough cost to fit into a little bit more aggressive archetypes, and she's high enough value to get value out of control and fatigue style of questline warlocks. So yeah, I think she's 4.5 stars. And then Tamsin's Phylactery, so much fun, so much value, stuff we can build around her, but I don't think she's going to be in any I don't think it's going to be in any tier 1 decks, and I don't even think it's going to make it into the cut in tier 2 decks. But for the number of different directions it can go, I'm going to go ahead and give it 3.5 stars. I want to say 4 stars, but because it's not going to make it into any tier 1 or probably even tier 2 decks, even with all of its things it enables, it's a 3.5 star because it is so has so many different options. but it's not strong enough to be 4. Desecrated Graveyard, because of the awkwardness, but because I think it actually will fit into a zoo style of deck that is willing to get value from eggs. I think Desecrated Graveyard is a 3-star card. Sacrificial Summoner is a 4-star card because it has a little bit more tutor effect possibility, but also egg activator, just like Desecrated Graveyard, and it's a nice body. You're happy, or it doesn't feel terrible to play, even if you're not getting value from it. So Sacrificial Summoner, 4-star card, and Hollow Abomination is a 2-star card, just because it's awkward to set up. If there are a few decks that go really wide with 1 health minions instead of 2 health minions, because we've got a lot of things that are summoning 2 health tokens, Hollow Abomination becomes a lot better. But because this requires so much setup to get value, and there aren't great ways to set things to 1 health for Warlock, I'm gonna say he's a 2-star card. I don't see him actually seeing play. And that's Warlock. Okay. Phylactery Humongous Owl OTK win. That was a good point, or a good question there. And then double Death Rattles with Tamsin. Yes, you could immediately play the extra Tamsin's Phylactery, or you could, oh gosh, with Humongous Owl, that would be insane. Or you could go ahead and wait. Now, if your opponent is a priest and they play the Shard of the Naru, you are very, very sad. Okay, next up is Warrior. So Warrior has a couple different directions they're going. We're going to start off with a card that doesn't really fit into any of them. Axe Berserker is a 4-mana 3/5. Rush, Honorable Kill, draw a weapon. So if you can rush this into something with 3 health, you're going to draw a weapon out of your deck. We already have Corsair Cache. We already have the Warrior questline. This is not a pirate. This is not synergizing with really anything else going on. And she's not terribly exciting. So Axe Berserker, not terrible, but we don't really need her. And so, yes, I don't think she's going to see a whole lot of play. Now, we do have some kind of interesting taunt package going on here with Glory Chaser, 3-mana 4/3. After you play a taunt minion, draw a card. So if we've got enough cheap taunts we can pair together with Glory Chaser, then we can cycle through the deck quite quickly. Unfortunately, we don't have too many terribly cheap taunt minions in Standard at the moment. Though I suppose if we play this alongside a, what is it, not Battle Guard Battlemaster? Or the 2-mana 2/3, when it takes damage, gain 2 attack, whatever that is, might be an okay follow-up to this. And if you are playing taunt minions alongside Glory Chaser, maybe Glory Chaser actually survives, and you get more value over a couple turns. And in that case, you might actually get full value from Glory Chaser with a card like Scrapsmith. Scrapsmith is a 3-mana 2/4. Taunt, Battlecry, add 2 2/4 grunts with taunt to your hand. Now, the art on this is the dwarf guy. In some sites, I've seen an orc in the art in this, and that actually makes more sense, especially with scrappy grunts, that it would be an orc. But this is what the art was on the official Hearthstone website at the time of making this. So I'm going with Dwarven art here. But anyways, Scrapsmith, you've got a lot of value bundled into a single card, and together with Glory Chaser, that could help you draw through the deck quite well. Does this come together well? I'm not sure. However, Scrapsmith, ignoring Glory Chaser for a moment, Scrapsmith giving you 2 2/4 grunts with taunt to your hand, you get to buff with conditioning or a couple other cards, namely conditioning, Scrappy Grunts, and they become a lot more threatening. So if you're going for a tokens rush package and you want to protect your rush minions or protect your just have a little bit more upside to your conditionings, then Scrappy Grunts alongside Scrapsmith might actually work out well. I think that could actually buy you the time and give you a little bit extra sticky presence and pressure with a Rush Warrior package. Is that going to be strong enough compared to the Pirate Warrior package we already have right now that's insanely good? No, it's not going to be anywhere near the strength. But Rush Warrior might actually climb back up to tier 2, bottom of tier 2, with some cards like this that are getting the extra buffs. Now we do have To the Front, 2 mana spell. Your minions cost 2 less this turn, but not less than 1. If you play this into Scrapsmith on turn 5, you can actually play 3 2/4 taunts in a single turn. So kind of a cool synergy going on there. But there are also some options later in the game for much more value. Now you're paying 2 mana and you're using a card slot to basically, on your first minion, just get a 2 mana discount. So you don't want to play this until later in the game, because for this 2 cost minion or cost reduction to actually work, you need at least 4 mana on 2 3-cost minions. So like you play this, you've got 4 mana, you've got 2 mana left over, you can play 2 3-cost minions for just 1 mana apiece. Not bad, but it is a little bit awkward. However, there is some setup for a particularly interesting OTK you could do with the first legendary we're looking at here. So Captain Galvanger is a 6 mana 6/6 with Battle Cry. If you've gained 15 or more armor this game, gain +3/+3 and charge. So not really going into your aggro decks, but if you've gained a fair bit of armor here across the course of the game, which your aggro decks are not typically going to care about doing, you're going to get a 6 mana 9/9 with charge, which is insane, which is amazing. A nice control deck finisher. Punch that extra little bit of damage, and hopefully that helps finish off the opponent or does finish off the opponent. Now, in Trump's review of this card, he did mention a really interesting combo with 5 cards you could pull off to deal 36 damage to the enemy's face in 1 turn. And that's by playing 2 copies of To the Front, so that all your minions cost 4 less this turn. And then you play Captain Galvanger, or Galvangar, after having, gained 15 armor. So he's a 2 mana minion at that point that becomes 9/9 with charge. You copy him with Faceless Manipulator for 1 mana, because Faceless Manipulator only costs 1 now. And then you play 2 mana Battleground Battlemaster in between your 2 Captain Galvangars. And you deal 9, 9, 9, 9. 36 damage to the enemy face. Good combo, a little bit awkward to pull together. And of course you have to have gained the 15 armor. We're going to look at a card that's really going to help with that here in just a second. But Captain Galvangar as an okay finisher and controlled style deck, cool, very cool. This OTK combo potential, interesting, bit awkward, bit tough to pull together, but it is actually only, I believe, 9 mana. So 4 mana for the To the Fronts, 2 mana for Galvangar, and then 3 more mana for the remaining minions. That is 9 mana. So you could pull the full combo if you've managed to draw well, all in one turn. And perhaps your glory chasers into scrapsmiths help you keep alive and cycle through the deck to get to your combo pieces in time. So interesting synergies going on there, but also to gain the 15 armor across the course of the game, a card that's really going to help is a Frozen Buckler. 2 mana frost spell to gain 10 armor, and then at the end of your turn, lose 5 armor. Or, no, at the start of your next turn, big deal, you lose 5 armor. So, gaining 10 armor for 2 mana, that's amazing. But armor is passive. If there weren't anything we could do with it, and if there weren't an upside to gaining all this armor, such as Captain Galvangar, or the next card we're going to look at, then it wouldn't be terribly exciting. But with the synergies with Captain Galvangar and this next card, I think Frozen Buckler does see play in more control-y styles, because the opponent does have to chip through all 10 armor if they want to face bash you, or they have to wait and maybe just deal 5 damage across the course of the turn, and then maybe knock out some of your minions if you've got any minions. Now, an early 2-card board clear that you can do, which will leave you with 5 armor at the start of your next turn, is to play Frozen Buckler into Shield Shatter. Shield Shatter is a 10 mana frost spell to deal 5 damage to all minions. Absolutely terrible, if not for costs 1 less for each armor you have. So if you have played Frozen Buckler into Shield Shatter is 0 mana at that point, guaranteed. But if you don't have Frozen Buckler in hand, or you drew this the following turn, then it's a 5 mana, or the following turn, so you've got 5 armor left. It's a 5 mana, deal 5 damage to all minions, which is not bad, actually. It's still a very nice board clear. So at what point, at what mana total, does Shield Shatter become too expensive? I think if you've got 4 armor and you have to pay 6 mana for this, it's still worth it. And so you want at least 4 armor, which means you have to stick that armor. I think the only way you're really going to stick that armor against an aggro deck is with Frozen Buckler. But there are a couple other armor gain cards we have access to in Standard. And actually we'll look at Rokara here in a moment as another possible way to get a little extra armor. But Shield Shatter with Frozen Buckler, I think, is pretty good. And there are a few other options that are okay. So Shield Shatter might well see play in more control style decks, looking to do perhaps an OTK. And especially since we do have the upside of Captain Galvangar, I think Frozen Buckler will see play, and Shield Shatter perhaps makes the cut in that deck. And then we also have the 2 mana objective spell, which is Iceblood Garrison. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all minions, last 3 turns. This one's interesting. Alongside a Frothing Berserker that you actually anticipate will survive till the next turn, great. As an activator, again, as an activator on a minion that is likely to survive till the following turn for Shield of Honor, the Divine Shield +3 attack to a damaged minion, good. But it's so awkward because it happens at the end of your turn. So you don't get to act on the Wind Fury, the Wild Fury, Bladestorm, not Bladestorm. Whirl Blade, The end of turn whirlwind means that you have to have stuck a minion to actually benefit from this. Or you've got the board clear, just 1 damage effect that's helping you set things up. But again, it's not happening until the end of the turn, so you don't set up honorable kills or anything like that, unless your opponent didn't trade into things and they go face, in which case you let them go face. Like, I don't see where or how Iceblood Garrison is really helping you. We didn't get a synergy like a when you take damage or something like that type of synergy card with this set. And I don't think dealing 1 damage at the end of the turn is going to be sufficient to set anything up or even control the aggro decks. Again, there are a couple cards that are like, if wide 1 health token boards are popular, then cards like Iceblood Garrison are great. But even token decks, at least they're going to have 2 health almost always. So these deal 1 damage to all minion effects aren't great, and this is not really helping you. You're damaging your own minions, and yet most of the time when you want to damage your own minions, you're wanting to actually benefit from it right away. If you're trying to activate a Frothing Berserker with this, you're sticking a Frothing Berserker. Maybe you gave him Divine Shield somehow without Shield of Honor. I don't know how you do that. And so the Divine Shield protects him from this 1 damage, but then he's just an easy target, 3 health or something for the opponent. Maybe you somehow managed to give him Divine Shield while he still had 4 health. But he's a 4 health really big minion that your opponent just kills. Like, I don't see Iceblood Garrison setting up anything, and it's not a powerful enough control card to see play. So a little bit awkward. The only benefit is if you do this whirlwind effect, then it did potentially set up for Snowed In as a follow-up turn. Again, the following turn, after your opponent bashed you with all the stuff that just took 1 damage, Snowed In is to destroy a damaged minion, freeze all other minions. Now, Snowed In on itself, or by itself, actually kind of interesting and exciting. So it's like Coerce, except that you don't combo it to kill an undamaged minion. You do have to damage the enemy minion, or, well, we're assuming it's an enemy minion that we want to damage. Perhaps you actually trade in one of your own minions into one of their lower attack minions and destroy your own minion in order to freeze the rest of their minions. So there are some ways to set up Snowed In, even if it is a little awkward to activate it. But the ability to freeze all other minions, assuming you're not going wide and strong with your own board, being able to freeze an entire board of aggro is quite good. And if you do have a weapon equipped that you can knock an enemy minion down to damaged state if they were at full health, and then follow it up with Snowed In, I think Snowed In will slot into a fair number of control decks because it's not a single target removal, it's a single target removal with board freeze. And so it might actually be better than Coerce. Now, Rokara, the Valorous, is the final hero card. She's a 7 mana hero card with Battlecry. Equip a 5/2 Unstoppable Force, which is after you attack a minion, smash it into the enemy hero. Okay. I think the Paladin weapon that we're getting with Cariel is a lot more exciting than this, because you have to bash the enemy minion with your face in order to send it into the enemy hero. And So you're taking whatever damage. So the more damage you want to do to the enemy opponent, that means you're also taking that same amount of damage yourself. Now you might be able to clear an 8-5 or an 8-8 that you already knocked down to 5 health. You might be able to clear it and punch it into the opponent's face, which I think, even if you hit it and it dies, it still smashes into the opponent. I certainly hope so. And then dies. But this is awkward. I mean, you potentially gain a bunch of armor thanks to Frozen Buckler that you were going to lose anyways as a setup for smashing into the opponent. So you might have lost that armor that you gained anyways, but it's awkward. And then you've got Grand Slam, deal 2 damage, which can go face. Nice. So Hunter hero power, or you finish off something with 2 health, exactly 2 health left, and you get the honorable kill. You gain some more armor that way, which could also set up for a Shield Shatter to be a little bit cheaper, because at that point Shield Shatter becomes 6 mana, and so you've got an 8 mana, basically 1-2 punch for clear. Rokara is interesting. She's not exciting. She's actually a little bit awkward. So, for hero cards, Rokara might actually be the worst. The weakest. I'm gonna give Rokara 3 stars. Snowed In is 3.5 stars. It's not quite 4 stars because it does have this little bit of awkwardness in requiring the enemy minion to be damaged in order to get the value. But it does have the upside of freezing everything. So yeah, 3.5 stars. Iceblood Garrison. 2 stars. It's interesting. It's useful, but it's not good. And the end of turn whirlwind effect, not being able to cast it in the middle of your turn or something like that in order to make a Frothing Berserker good or something. Iceblood Garrison is a 2-star card. Shield Shatter, a little bit awkward, a little bit of setup, but you do have maybe Rokara, but more likely Frozen Buckler and some other armor cards to set it up to be decent. So I think Shield Shatter is a 3.5 star. It's not just a 3-star. But it's not quite a 4-star also, because if you are out of armor, you're very, very sad. You're like, I need to play this card to clear the board, but you don't have it. So Shield Shatter, yeah, 3.5 stars. Frozen Buckler, if not for Shield Shatter and Galvangar, Captain Galvangar, would only be a 2.5 stars. But because it has those synergies, and I think you will want to play them together, and it is decent on its own, I do believe it is a 3.5 star card. Not quite 4 stars itself either. However, Captain Galvangar, because you most likely will be able to gain 15 armor, maybe not by turn 6, but just the upside of a 9/9 charging minion in a more control-y style of deck and the OTK possibility, he is a 4-star card. Excuse me. So Captain Galvangar is a 4-star card, just because that's great. To the front, the awkwardness, we're going to go ahead and say it is a 3-star card. It works in this OTK with Captain Galvangar, which is probably only going to be a tier 4 deck, maybe, if that. And it doesn't quite set up, because it's only this turn, and it is a bit awkward. You can't get a minion less than 1, so you're always paying at least 1 mana per minion you're cheating out with it. And it can't come down particularly quickly to get the value. So I'm going to say To the Front is a 2.5 star card. Scrapsmith is a 3-star card. The potential for stall, the potential for buff with conditioning, enabling some different options. I'm going to go ahead and say he's a 3-star card. Glory Chaser, however, is a 2.5 star card, a little bit weak. Taunts typically aren't terribly cheap. If we had the guy that gives you 1/1 scarabs, 2/1/1 scarabs with taunt in hand to get value from this, and we had a little bit better draw engine potential with this, I'd say Glory Chaser would be better off. But in standard right now, I think Glory Chaser is just 2.5 stars. But there are options for it, so we're going to go ahead and keep it at 2.5. And then Axe Berserker, she's not bad, but she's not good. And I don't think she sees play because we have better draw weapon options that are cheaper and simpler and don't require this honorable kill. And if you're just playing a 4-mana 3/5 rush, she's not gonna see play. And that, yeah, draw a weapon, I don't think anybody who's looking to draw a weapon is gonna use her over the other options. So she's a 2-star card. And that is Warrior. Now on to the neutral cards. And starting off with a few Frost Spell Synergy cards, which can work with Frost Shaman, but also a number of the Warrior spells are Frost spells as well. And one of the reasons why you would want Snowblind Harpy in a Warrior deck is because of the armor gain synergies. So Snowblind Harpy is a 3-mana 3/4 Battlecry. If you're holding a Frost spell, gain 5 armor. So we do have the armor gain synergy going on there. But also this is a nice little option for healing in Shaman, in Frost Shaman. And so she's not bad as a 3-mana 3/4. And in a spell running lots of Frost spells, or a decent number of Frost spells, she's pretty good. Actually, that is a good activator for Shield Shatter. However, she will kill herself if you Shield Shatter into it. So maybe not. But still, she has a number of synergies that'll work pretty well. And then we've got Herald of Lokholar. Is a 4-mana 3/5 Battlecry. Draw a Frost spell. So if you're looking to cycle through your deck while putting an okay sized body on the board, I think this goes more in Frost Shaman than anything. Possibly Warrior if you're looking specifically for your Frozen Buckler or board clear. Maybe you consider throwing him in there, but probably that's going to be a bigger minion control style of deck. But just cycling through the deck, maybe it's worth running him. And then Ice Revenant is a 4-mana 4/5. Whenever you cast a Frost spell, gain +2/+2. Nice stat buffs. And if you're running this alongside a couple Wind Chills in Shaman, then this guy gets big really quickly, and you're running a fair number of Frost spells. You plop this guy down. I don't know, and he's an elemental as well, so you've got the elemental synergies going on there. Maybe, actually, you do run this guy. So Ice Revenant, Frost Elemental Shaman might actually play him. I could see it possibly happening. And then you've got Gangster. A 2-mana 4/2 with stealth. After your opponent plays a minion, attack it. It's snipe on a body. Maybe. Would your opponent ever play a 1-attack minion into this? No. So it's getting a 1 trade, maybe. And if they just don't play anything out onto the board, you get to attack 4 with face, or into their face. But yeah, you're not going to be running this card. Like, if it were a 2-mana 4/2 stealth that didn't have this text on it, she might actually see play. But because she's going to kill herself off on a 2/2 or a 2/1 that your opponent plays into her, no, I don't think Gangster sees play. However, Grim Totem Bounty Hunter might actually see play against all of the questline mercenaries or some of the other crazy big minions that are coming down, like Lokalar, that we talked about yesterday, or Ivus, which we're going to be talking about here in a bit. And honestly, most decks are running 2 or 3 legendaries. And yeah, like Regis Kilbin said in his review, even if you just take out a Mankrik, you're quite happy for the value you got here. So as a one-of tech card in decks, when you're looking for something to fill in that's still decent value, Grim Totem Bounty Hunter might well see play. So Grim Totem Bounty Hunter, we're going to go ahead and give 3 stars. He's okay. He's a possibility. Gangster is a 1.5 star card. There's a possibility she sees a tiny bit of play, but the downside is just too high against most decks that you're not going to include her. And what is she actually helping you do? Unless... Yeah, no, even if you've got stealth synergies you're looking for, she kills herself off, so you lose her that way. So I don't see Gangster seeing much play at all. So 1.5 stars. Ice Revenant, however, especially alongside Windchill in Frost Shaman, I think could see a fair bit of experimentation. So we're going to give it 2.5 stars, not quite 3 stars. I'm tempted to give it 3 stars, but I don't think it's actually going to make the cut in final versions, in the meta versions of Frost Shaman. So 2.5 stars. We'll have fun with it. We'll see how big of our Ice Revenants we can make with it, but I don't think it's going to make the cut in the meta versions, but it's decent. And then Herald of Lokalar, to cycle through, get your specific frost spells for Warrior, or to just help you cycle through the deck in Frost Shaman. I think it's a 3-star card. Optimistic 3-star card. And then Snowblind Harpy as a way to gain armor in Warrior, or actually just gain a little bit of health in your Frost Shaman. I think actually we'll go ahead and say 3 stars for her as well. She's not quite, she doesn't downgrade to 2 or 2.5. So optimistic 3-star card for her as well. Next, we have the honorable kill cards. Honorable kill minions, neutral minions from the set that are remaining. Gnome Private, 1 mana, 1/3. Nice stat line. Honorable kill, gain +2 attack. On turn 1, a 1 mana 1/3, pretty good. Questline Paladin, if that's the deck, she's great. Honestly, 1 mana 1/3s. Now that we're seeing lots of 1 mana 2/2s, the hurdle for 1-drops is higher. But I think actually just because of the stat line and the possible upside from this honorable kill, she'll see play in some decks. And I mean, then she becomes a 3/2 or a 3/1 that the opponent wants to deal with. So there's a little bit of value to playing Gnome Private. So yeah, she'll see some play. Corporal, 2 mana 2/3, honorable kill, give your other minions Divine Shield. So he dies. So you have to play him. You don't have Rush unless you Broom alongside him. If you Broom alongside him and you've got some really big high value minions that you wanted to give Divine Shield to make them more difficult to deal with, maybe, but he's just so awkward and he's delayed and your opponent just deals with him. Corporal, I think not. I don't see him coming into play with a deck. Maybe there is a Broom combo that you actually do want to pull off with this, and the Broom can rush in first, so he can honorable kill a 2 or a 3 health minion, thanks to Broom's help. So maybe you set that up, but I don't see it coming together. Knight Captain, 5 mana 3/3, Battle Cry, deal 3 damage, honorable kill, gain +3/+3. Lots of things do have 3 health. So her battle cry might get an honorable kill itself, pushing her up to a 6/6. And so 5 mana 6/6 with a potential to grow even higher. And of course, in a pinch, this is 3 damage to the opponent's face, and a 3/3 for 5 mana, which is not atrocious. So mediocre card that could possibly be good in an interesting style of deck. Now, something that would be interesting is you play her out and her battle cry kills something, and then you broom her and immediately kill something with 6 health that hopefully doesn't have 6 health itself. I mean 6 attack itself, and she grows to be 9 attack, in which case you've got something pretty interesting. But you need broom or something like that to make her actually high impact like that, and so probably not. And then you've got Sneaky Scout, 2 mana 3/2. Honorable kill, your next hero power costs 0. Why would I play this card? No. It has stealth. 2 mana 3/2 stealth. Okay. And then I want to go face. I don't care about the hero power costing 0 unless... Even in hero power mage, no. Nope. And then Frantic Hippogriff. 5 mana 3/7 beast. Rush, honorable kill, gain Wind Fury. In a buff paladin, maybe Frantic Hippogriff sees play, because it's a 5 mana something extra statted rush beast that goes in and maybe takes out something just right and gains Wind Fury and takes out something else. So your buffed other minions have a far better chance of surviving. And if they aren't able to kill this off, or if it didn't kill itself off in the double trades, then it's a Wind Fury minion that your opponent does have to deal with. And with the buffed stats from Buff Paladin, okay, I could see it seeing play there. And then maybe also in Druid. I don't think the Hunter Beast package is looking for this, but Druid might possibly be able to find a way to use this effectively. I mean, this plus Adorable Infestation, it becomes 4 attack. At that point, 6 mana. Turn 6, maybe you're actually killing something and getting decent value from this. So, Frantic Hippogriff for Beast Druid or Buff Paladin, possibly seeing play. We'll give it a 2.5 star. Because I don't think it's usually going to make the cut, but it has the possibility of seeing play there. Whereas Sneaky Scout, 2 stars. No, 1.5 stars. I don't think you're going to play this. Now, it is just stealth synergy card sticking to the board in Rogue for Greyheart Sage, with a potential upside, but you don't want a hero power with Shank Rogue, and your 0 mana hero power is already 0 mana if you've played Scabs. So I don't see Sneaky Scout seeing play. So 1.5 stars. Knight Captain, potentially useful. We'll give it a hopeful 3 stars. She's awkward to get anything more than just a 6/6 body out of it, but sometimes she can go face when you need that over-the-top damage, and sometimes she just presents some pressure and a little bit of board clear presence. So yeah, 3 stars. She'll find play in some tier 3 deck somewhere. Corporal, however, without Animated Broomstick, and even with Animated Broomstick, setting up an honorable kill. Maybe you Animated Broomstick and Buff Paladin, but then why? You've got so much more powerful things you want to do. But you do have Divine Shield synergies in Paladin. For the hopeful buff Paladin Divine Shield synergy shenanigans that could be pulled off with this guy, 2.5 stars. We won't quite devolve. What's the word? Not promote. What's the opposite of promote? Basically, we won't punch him down to private and being a 1-star card or even a 2-star card. We'll give him 2.5 stars. Gnome Private will see play in some aggro decks. She's not utter garbage, so we'll say 3.5 stars actually, because she's got a little bit of an upside and she will see play somewhere. So yeah, 3.5 stars. And then the last set of cards, the last cards from Alterac Valley. So Frozen Mammoth, or all of these cards, require a little bit of build around. So Frozen Mammoth, 4 mana, 6/7 beast. This is frozen until you cast a fire spell. Until you cast a fire spell. Beast synergies. Druid, I don't think has any fire spells. Hunter could potentially thaw this out, but would they play it? Probably not. Mage is not really looking for this. Shaman has Perpetual Flame. Not really. I mean, the stats are amazing. And if you can give it Taunt, it doesn't matter that it's frozen. But that's not usually a good play. Other cards like this that have that awkward conditionality haven't seen play. Is there another fire spell that we would cast? Rogue has to discover fire spells from one thief. Fire spells, not warrior. Warlock has fire spells. Warlock can sometimes make use of big stats a little bit more effectively, but they have so much better options. Even for the little bit of discount, the awkwardness of this card. Yeah, no, I don't see Frozen Mammoth seeing play. You have some options, but not really. Reflecto Engineer, 3 mana 2/4. Battlecry, swap the attack and health of all minions in both players' hands. So you're not playing this if you're just trying to disrupt your opponent, because against a fair number of decks, you're not actually making them any worse, or you might actually be helping them to be more aggressive. And so you're looking to either make your hand far more aggressive or to make your hand a lot more sticky. Probably the direction you want to take this is to make your hand a lot more aggressive, because taking high attack minions and turning them into high health minions, other than Bless Priest, so all that extra health that you can then transform into attack, is probably not going to be looking to do that. And then that extra attack, how did that, then they're super easy to kill. Is there a charge minion other than Mr. Smite that has... Yeah, no, Mr. Smite actually loses attack. And then the new charge minion for Warrior has equal stats across the board. So there's nothing really... Grommash. Charge Warrior. Okay, there's a possibility. And then we can enrage him. And he gains 4 more attack. Okay, there's a Charge Warrior deck we could build. But other than that, I don't see Reflecto Engineer really doing anything. So totally a meme deck and totally a meme card. So Reflecto Engineer, yeah. Other than Charge Warrior, which we will figure out a way to do, Reflecto Engineer not seeing play. Now, Ibis, the Frost Lord, or Forest Lord, 1 mana, 1/1 legendary. Oh my gosh, it's a 1 mana, 1/1 legendary. That's terrible. Except, Battlecry. Spend the rest of your mana and gain +2/+2, Rush, Divine Shield, or Taunt at random for each. So, break it down. This is, you play this on turn 5. You play it for 1 mana, you have 4 mana left over. It's going to gain one of these 4 things per mana. It's going to gain +2/+2, Rush, Divine Shield, or Taunt. At 5 mana, if you play this for 5 mana, there's a 1 in 4 chance of getting each of these, so you're decently likely to end up with a 3/3 Rush, Divine Shield, Taunt Ibis, which is not exciting. But once you start getting up to higher mana, 6 mana, 7 mana, 8 mana, you're going to have, most likely, it's going to end up with Rush, Divine Shield, and Taunt, and you can't end up with double Taunt or double Divine Shield. It's not going to eat a mana to duplicate those, so we do have confirmation on that. So, most likely, for 8 mana, you're going to get Taunt, Divine Shield, and Rush, and then 4 times +2/+2, which is turning this into a 9/9 with Rush, Taunt, and Divine Shield. So for 8 mana, it's pretty good. And then in a Guff deck, where you're getting closer to 20 mana, I don't know that you ever really get to 20 mana with Guff, but you get closer to 20 mana, and you play Ibis, this becomes massive. And then they play Grim Totem and kill him. Grim Totem, Bounty Hunter, and just destroy him. But Ibis can become huge in Druid. There are some crazy things you can do there. I think he flexes in as in a slower deck. I don't think aggro decks are going to include him because he's not good until at least 6 mana. You don't really want to play him until 6 mana, I don't think. 5 mana, you have the potential of just getting 2 keywords and then he becomes a 5/5 with 2 of those keywords, which is not terrible. But probably 6 mana or higher, he becomes good. And I don't think aggro decks are really looking for that. So I think you're looking for slower decks that are willing to take a pass turn and just summon this big body on the board. With that defensibility, that removal potential, you're not guaranteed. You could end up, for 8 mana, just getting a bigger body that is just a big body. It didn't even get Rush, Divine Shield, or Taunt. It's not likely, but it's entirely possible that he could just be a big body that doesn't do anything. So the RNG factor of this, but the high value, I think makes it better in control decks. It's not gonna be included in aggro decks most of the time unless they're looking for, oh my gosh, I've used almost all my resources. I just throw this out there as a final big body to helpfully push over the edge and finish them off. So maybe some aggro decks might include it for that reason. Late game, like the game went too long and I didn't manage to finish them off with all my other stuff, he might see inclusion for that. But I think he does see inclusion in control decks that aren't going for a specific combo or just looking for a nice threat to buy them a little bit of time to put together their combo. And then we've already seen Drekthar and Vandar already making waves. Drekthar actually haven't encountered very much, but he does have some fun aggro build-around options and Rally Priest craziness that you can do. And then Vandar is seeing play in fun decks. Will he continue to see play once everything else is out there? Yeah, in a couple decks. So Vandar, 4.5 stars, not quite 5 stars. Because he does enable a number of different fun control combo styles of decks. Drekthar also probably a 4.5 stars. I haven't played with him. I chose Vandar. But I think there are a number of interesting options there, and aggro decks can use him quite effectively. And so I think Drekthar will see play in a fair number, and he enables some extra powerful swing turns. So he's also 4.5 stars, not quite 5. Ivus the Forest Lord, 4-star card. Only in control decks mostly, and then maybe a little bit in mid-range. Possibly as a finisher in aggro, but probably not. If he had lifesteal as an option here, he'd be a 5-star card, no question. But without lifesteal, with just the body, he's nice, he's good, he's gonna see play. 4-star card, but not meta-defining, not breaking the game. So, actually no, let's give Ivus 4.5 stars as well. Yeah, because he is very good in control decks for the value. So yeah, 4.5 stars, but not 5. And then Reflecto Engineer, definitely a meme card. We will build Charge Warrior with it. And so... Nah, it's just a 2-star card. It's not even 2.5. We can't bump it up to 2.5. It doesn't do enough. So yeah, 2.5 star card. Fun meta, or fun meme card possible. And then Frozen Mammoth. The stats are great, but I don't see him play. Because none of the classes that have reliable fire spells care about these stats, and it's awkward in every other class that only has like 1 or 2, and giving this taunt isn't worth it because that requires another enabler. So Frozen Mammoth is a 1.5 star card. It's not even 2. I might eat my words here, but yeah, no, it's a 1.5 star card. And that's it. We are done with the card reviews right at 3 hours. Good heavens. So those are all the Horde class cards and neutral cards.